1 and enter BULK.
Tonight, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam refusing to resign, now denying that's him in a racist yearbook photo, saying he had never seen it until now.
It was offensive, racist, and despicable.
But Northam admitting he has appeared in blackface before. Leaders of his own party, other Democrats, demanding he step down. New storm strikes, dangerous torrential rains, and strong winds slamming the West. Mudslides leading to evacuations. Millions facing a flash flood risk as temperatures in the frozen Midwest and Northeast spike. On the brink, hundreds of thousands take to the streets in Venezuela as embattled President Nicolas Maduro tells the U.S. we do not want a new Vietnam. We are ready to defend our homeland. Our team in the middle of the growing crisis. High-profile heist. The thieves in Hollywood caught on camera, seen driving away with a half-ton safe. Hundreds of thousands in jewels taken. And final mission, the historic flyover in honor of America's first female fighter pilot, the barriers she broke in the air and on the ground.
From ABC News, this is ABC World News Tonight.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Tom Yamas. And we begin tonight with the breaking news. Virginia's embattled governor now saying it wasn't him in a racist photo. Ralph Northam appearing with his wife before cameras today, taking reporters' questions and refusing to resign, expressing disgust and repeatedly calling horrific that photo right there from the 80s that has emerged showing two people, one in blackface, the other dressed as a member of the KKK on his yearbook page back in medical school. The governor saying he's never seen that picture before, and tonight revealing a separate incident where he admits to appearing in blackface. ABC's Zachary Keish is in Richmond starting us off.
Tonight, the governor of Virginia with an incredible reversal. After releasing a statement last night acknowledging he was in this yearbook photo of a man wearing blackface in someone dressed in KKK garb, today he's refusing to resign, saying, after a closer look, it wasn't me.
I did not purchase the EVMS yearbook, and I was unaware of what was on my page. When I was confronted with the images yesterday, I was appalled that they appeared on my page, but I believe then and now that I am not either of the people in that photo.
The governor claiming that he got caught up in the moment, making a rush judgment when the medical yearbook photo was revealed, sending out an apology and taking responsibility before he claims he could closely examine the photo.
I conceded that, based on the evidence presented to me at the time, the most likely explanation that it was indeed me in the photo.
He now says it was a mistake, suggesting the picture was on the wrong yearbook page.
I have also had a classmate who I discussed with this morning. We talked about this situation, and I said, you know, is there a possibility, you think, that someone could have put a photo on the wrong page? She said it happened on numerous pages in this very yearbook.
Governor Northam said he had no recollection of wearing blackface at that party, adding he would remember it because he had worn shoe polish in a dance contest in 1984, dressing up as Michael Jackson.
My belief that I did not wear that costume or attend that party stems in part from my clear memory of other mistakes I made in the same period of my life. That same year, I did participate in a dance contest in San Antonio, in which I darkened my face as part of a Michael Jackson costume. I look back now and regret that I did not understand the harmful legacy of an action like that.
He continued with this anecdote about that night.
I had the shoes, I had a glove, and I used just a little bit of shoe polish to put under on my cheeks. And the reason I used a very little bit is because I don't know if anybody's ever tried that, but you cannot get shoe polish off.
This stunning 40-minute press conference turned bizarre at times. At one point, a reporter asking Northam if he could still moonwalk as he had in the 1984 dance contest. The governor appeared to consider trying to dance before his wife intervened.
My wife says inappropriate circumstances.
The governor then explained it wasn't until a conversation with an aide later in life that he learned why that Michael Jackson costume was offensive.
Do you think as a grown adult that it's problematic that you need to have it explained to you that blackface is offensive?
No, I'm not a person of color, and people of color experience different things. It affects them different ways.
All right, Zachary Keys joins us now live from outside the governor's mansion in Richmond, Virginia. Zachary, the governor stating he would not resign unless he reached a point where he thought it would be impossible to lead, and also facing questions why he had a racially charged nickname as a young man.
Tom, the nickname appears in his college yearbook. The governor admits it was something that he was called, but claims he doesn't know why, saying you'd have to ask the students. Tom?
Zachary Keys with that new reporting tonight, and this programming note as the story is developing, all the late developments on Northam's intention to keep his Virginia governor's seat tomorrow on This Week with George Stephanopoulos. Please be sure to tune in. Now to the new storm threat and emergency evacuations in the West. Dangerous floodwaters, look at that, filled with debris and mud cascading through Malibu, and a driver stranded north of Los Angeles trying to push his car to safety. High winds bringing this towering pine, said to be 100 years old, down on a Santa Barbara home. And you'll remember those recent devastating wildfires. Well, now they've left many residents exposed during these torrential rains. Here's ABC's Marcus Moore.
Tonight, what looks like river rapids raging through this neighborhood in Malibu, swallowing everything in its path. A major storm pummeling the entire state. Flash flood alerts up and down California, with some places expecting up to half a foot of rain. Mandatory evacuations in areas scarred by recent wildfires. Residents worried about mudslides.
Horrible mudslides, people getting caught.
Santa Barbara County getting hammered. Powerful winds toppling a huge tree onto this apartment complex. In Los Angeles, drivers forced to take their chances on flooded streets. People in near waist-deep water near Hollywood. More than 100 weather-related emergencies reported across the city. Investigators in Ventura County looking into whether the storm played a role in this deadly crash, killing one search and rescue team member. And Tom, you can see and you can hear that rushing water just behind me as it roars across this roadway here in Malibu. A number of streets have been closed because of the dangerous flooding and debris flows here. And more rain is expected tonight into tomorrow, meaning this could only get worse. Tom.
Marcus Moore right there by the growing danger tonight. Marcus, thank you. We turn now to the major thaw. Those bone-chilling temperatures plunging millions across the northern plains and heartland into record-breaking deep freeze, now boomeranging back. Senior meteorologist Rob Marciano is standing by in New York Central Park. Rob, good evening.
Good evening, Tom. It's that big California storm that's going to be the main trigger for the big thaw in the eastern half of the country, which will bring problems like ice jam and snow melt flooding. Look at these temperature changes in the last 48 hours in Chicago and Minneapolis, already warming over 40 degrees. Tomorrow's highs in St. Louis will be into the mid-60s. Then you move ahead towards Monday. We're looking to be 50 or better in Chicago, New York, Boston, and Buffalo, where they have a large amount of snow there. Flooding is going to be an issue. All the while, this storm in the west, look at this classic satellite image, a powerful cyclone slamming the west now with several more waves of moisture to come. One tomorrow night and again on Monday with lowering snow levels, 5 to 10 feet of snow with more flooding rain, storminess in the west for at least another 2 days. Tom?
Okay, Rob, thank you. We want to move on now to Venezuela and political tensions right now on the brink. Opposition supporters pouring into the streets of Caracas in some of the biggest protests yet. Those mass demonstrations against President Nicolás Maduro and in favor of rising rival Juan Guaido. ABC senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell in the middle of it all.
The pressure's building as hundreds of thousands heed the opposition's call and take over the streets across the country. In the capital, protesters with signs reading "Freedom for Venezuela," others chanting simply, "Yes, we can."
As you can see, it's pretty much a carnival atmosphere, but what they're calling for is deadly serious. Complete change of government, complete change of system. And they're not afraid of the risk to come out onto the streets.
Today, a defection.
Juan Guaidó como presidente.
A Venezuelan Air Force general, the first high-ranking officer to back Juan Guaidó since he was declared interim president, saying the transition to democracy is imminent. Guaidó, who's promised amnesty to military and security forces not guilty of serious crimes, today calling for more defections, saying,
"No disparen."
We don't just want you to stop shooting at protesters, we want you to be part of Venezuela's reconstruction. Across town, his rival, President Maduro, held his own major rally. calling for elections that would increase his grip on power. Despite strong US-led sanctions, he's refusing to step down, telling the crowd, the American government threatens us every day. We don't want a new Vietnam. Adding, we're ready to defend our homeland. But the people I met on the streets also vowing they won't back down.
Sometimes military action has to be taken to get to a better chances and the better good and greater good, the way Americans say it. It might be the right time.
Tom, we're seeing signs that US sanctions and seize assets are really starting to bite, and that affects Maduro's ability to pay off and keep happy his supporters and backers. Even so, there are very few signs that many of them are ready to switch sides. And perhaps most worrying tonight, both sides saying they're ready to fight to defend their positions. Tom?
And all eyes on the Venezuelan military as well. All right, Ian, thank you. Now to the politics here at home. President Trump spotted on the links in Florida with golf greats Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods as he mulls next steps on the border fight. New reporting tonight that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is cautioning the president against using his emergency powers to bypass Congress and build that wall. With the president's frustration growing, ABC White House correspondent Tara Palmieri reporting from West Palm Beach tonight.
President Trump on the golf course in Florida today, side by side with Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus, his first trip to Mar-a-Lago since before the shutdown. But with just 14 days until the short-term funding bill runs out, the battle over the border continues as Trump faces growing opposition from within his own party against declaring a national emergency to build a border wall.
Actually having a national emergency does help the process. I think there's a good chance that we'll have to do that.
A White House official telling ABC News the president is aware that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is against using emergency powers to bypass Congress.
For whatever works, which means avoiding a shutdown and avoiding the president feeling he should declare a national emergency.
The Washington Post reporting that McConnell told Trump in a private meeting that Congress might pass a resolution against declaring a national emergency, and that could force the president to use his veto power for the first time, driving a wedge between the president and his party.
I think that this would be viewed as an expansion of executive authority, that we just don't want to go down that road.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers is now working to meet Trump's demand for funding a wall along the southern border. The president is not optimistic.
We will be looking at a national emergency because I don't think anything's going to happen. I think the Democrats don't want border security.
Tara Palmieri joins us now live. And Tara, there's been no real progress in those Capitol Hill negotiations on border security?
Tom, that's right. There's been no tangible progress. The group of lawmakers in that conference are heading to the border tomorrow to see the situation for themselves. But the two main players in this, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and President Trump, still won't budge. Tom?
Tara, thank you. And word tonight, Russia is pulling the plug on the nuclear arms pact with the U.S. This after the Trump administration said it's suspending the treaty dating back to the Reagan era, accusing Moscow of violating that accord. Observers say it all may signal a new arms race. Here's ABC's Lana Zak.
Tonight, experts are warning of a new Cold War as one of the most crucial arms race treaties in history collapses. Russian President Vladimir Putin has promised that Russia is developing new intermediate-range weapons in response to the U.S.
Putin is getting his cake and eating it, too, because he's able to deploy missiles that now threaten NATO, but claim that it's the U.S. that has withdrawn from the treaty.
The move could embolden Russia to further test an array of weapons that seem straight out of a Bond villain's playbook, including this, the Poseidon underwater nuclear-powered drone, a device that, if successful, would literally create tsunamis. Russia's announcement comes just one day after the U.S. said it will withdraw from the INF treaty.
One side has not been adhering to it. We have, but one side hasn't. So unless they're going to adhere, we shouldn't be the only one.
Putin says he's only following America's lead, but for years, Russia has been threatening to withdraw from the landmark 1987 treaty signed by President Ronald Reagan and Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev.
Tom, the withdrawal is being criticized by the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He writes in a statement that the president's actions are allowing for a dangerous arms race in which Russia can act with impunity. Tom?
Lana Zak reporting from the White House tonight. Lana, thank you. And be sure to join us on Tuesday night for complete live coverage of the State of the Union address and the Democratic response. And there is much more ahead on World News Tonight this Saturday. The urgent rescue mission underway. Falling through the ice, the ATVs plunging through these frigid waters, first responders diving in to save anyone they can find. The daycare issue, the worker caught on camera yanking and dragging small children that